So back again with another author talk, and this time again, and said it multiple times, but again, I'm going to emphasize what a treat this guest is. We're very lucky to have someone that might be well known to a lot of people that are watching this channel. He's got vast experience in martial arts, weapons making, and on a little TV show that you may have heard called Forged in Fire. He's launching a comic book that was, I don't know, reading the specs on it, I'd say is loosely based on his personal experience and then mixed with a bit of fantasy, a bit of magic into it. Doug Marcaida, welcome aboard.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So it's yeah, an incredible honor. And as I off camera, I just talked to him about, this TV star, and he's very quickly to humble that down and say he's just him. But so we'll get straight into the real reason why you're here, and that's this new comic book, Lineage, and the Brotherhood of the Blade, which I believe is the first volume.
hmm
Tell us about this comic book.
Well, Lineage came about because of my experience in Filipino martial arts, which is a weapons-based martial arts system. I've been doing that for over 35 years, oh my, that long. Now, being part of Forge and Fire, where I am a judge on a competition on bladesmithing. We actually have our contestants create iconic weapons from all over the world. And because as a weapons edge impact weapons specialist, I always try to study all the different cultures and how these weapons are made. Now, my own experience with Filipino martial arts, I know that the blade is very sacred, but it also represents a lot of things. For most of the world, weapons are created for destruction, but a blade is neither good or bad. It's who's wielding it that makes it good or bad, right?
Yeah.
A blade can be used to destroy, but it's also used to cut our food. It can be used to cut materials so we can build. It can be used to protect your own your family or your principles. It's also is worn as a status symbol in some cultures. It's also representative of some of the traits of flags all over the world. So when we talk about the blade, there's more than just an instrument that does cut, but it is an instrument that just cut. Now,
Yeah.
what I was doing Fortune Fire is we challenge our contestants to take an ore and put it in the forge, and then later on create a blade out of it. Sometimes they're signature blades. Sometimes we ask them to create an iconic weapon from history. But every time they do that, I always heard some of the bladesmith says, well, how is it coming along? How's the shape? He goes, well, I'll let the metal tell me what it wants to be. Right. And we're like, the other judges who are mastersmiths go, that means he's got no skill because pretty much you're the one who formed the whole thing. But that resonated with me. You see, as I've always looked at forging as sometimes a metaphor of life. We have this idea, we have this ore, and we put it into a forge, which could be the womb, and then all of a sudden you take the weapon out of the metal and you start hammering it and you start forming it into like the pretty much the way we would raise our children, right? The heat of the forge is the heat of life. And we temper it so it's not too brittle, just the way we raise our child. And we take it to the grinder and we sharpen it like you sharpen its wits. And in the end, we present the weapon to the world for us to test. We present our children to the world for the kids to actually live their life. But the kids have the chance to come home and talk to their parents and tell them what's going on. Blades don't. That's when I realized, imagine if a blade can come back to its maker and say, hey, remember that you actually designed me to be this weapon from history to cut and stab this way and everything else? Well, you gave me to some guy that just uses me to like clean his toenails. Gross. But imagine that idea, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it hit me. Every blade has a story to tell. So that's when I had this idea of taking my stories from my ventures in learning my martial art from different countries in Southeast Asia, from traveling all to different teachers everywhere that somehow, some way had stories to tell about the blade culture. Because my blade culture in Filipino martial arts, especially from Southeast Asia, is spiritual. It's not just deadly. A lot of my instructors who can actually move with a blade and destroy with the blade and stab and kill and everything else, they actually wear amulets. Like amulets? What do you need that for? You know, this is metal here. They have prayers and incantations and all these potions to protect them from the evil blades that are out there. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm a Westerner now. I'm like, but that happens. But then these are my teachers who are very skilled. I go to them for the physical skills, but they believe in these things and they tell me fireside stories. And everybody else has their own story with the mystical things. So I'm like, is this real or not? Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's what you believe in, what they believe in. And I was engrossed. So from these fireside stories of my teachers passed on to me and me passing it on to my students and having that interaction, I finally had stories to tell that I wanted to preserve what they were saying and then now create my own storyline based on, and that's why the title is Lineage.
Yeah.
But lineage is a very special word, and I will explain that to you shortly. It's amazing. So that's how it came about. Now, because this is my first try at comic books and telling my story, I pretty much am writing the first saga, but it also continues on later on. But I wanted to go back to my roots. Because one thing I've learned as being a public speaker and motivational speaker and all these is that if you talk about yourself and the things that you know, you can't go wrong
Yeah.
because you're basing it on your own experiences. Nobody will tell you, well, that didn't happen. Well, how do you know? This is my experience. So that's where I'm starting. That's why the first volume of Lineage is about my culture, Filipino martial arts, and my own kind of life story is very much into this comic book.
And why comic books as your medium? Like, why not stories? Why not script? You know,
Yep.
because you do have that TV base.
Yes.
Why is comic books?
Actually, good question. It wasn't supposed to be a comic book.
Really?
Number one, I'm not very much familiar with the comic book world. I grew up in the Philippines, and we're a third world country. I couldn't afford comic books over there. I only could glance at my friends who could afford them, and I didn't understand the way comic books work. But I did like the art. Now,
Yeah.
fast forward, I migrated to the U.S. My stories and my continuation of my martial art and my culture and everything else. When I was in television, these are the stories I was talking about because of Fortune Fire and all the weapons from all over the world, and my telling them about, what about the lore of Excalibur or the Sword of Perseus and all these things that are all in there. I go like, what about my own story? So I was talking to my producer and I told him my story, and he goes, that is amazing, and that is so much in line with everything that we're doing. Let's turn this into a TV show. But then what happened was COVID hit. He left the industry. He left our show. And I was just stuck with my stories here. I'm like, well, how do I do this now? I had no connections. I mean, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write it through comic books first because I wanted it in print. I wanted to save my stories ahead of time. I met the right people. I was able to do this. And I go, you know what? In the old days, even my teacher was saying before television was there, we were just passing history through oral history, telling stories by the fireside. And then you started writing prints on the walls of caves and everything else. That's our first comic book. Now, in modern times, this is one way that we can preserve your stories. But not only that, it's also a way to pass down your history, hence
Yeah.
the title Lineage.
Yeah. And I love you that you referred to it as you like the art because comic books, they are an art form. I think they've been dismissed, or can be dismissed, but some of them are breathtakingly beautiful the way they're drawn and constructed, and yeah. So capturing a story like yours and that essence, um, yeah, it's definitely an interesting way because you could tell your story in a book, but we'd never see it. And
Correct,
a
right?
TV show, you kind
Yeah,
of always lose something in the telling.
a lot of things are lost in translation, especially if they guide you to their vision. Now, books, you can never beat that. Nothing will ever beat your own imagination. But in a comic book, you can also guide them into the visions that you have of that comic book and still leave them with their imagination because it's limited, right? But
Yeah,
here's also the thing that I love. Depending on how the comic book is done with the pictures and the story, it can also be a comic book that you can watch and see many things over and over and over again. Because every time you visit it, you'll be visiting with different eyes, different experiences, different emotions. I'm angry today. Let me read this comic book. I'm even angrier and I understand what's going on. I'm sad today. I'm going to look at this comic book and the art I see. Now, all of a sudden, the words don't matter, but I'm focused on one particular artwork in the back, in the corner of this comic book that I'm staring at. And I'll learn something different from that. But even better than that, we actually are doing this on purpose with the comic art that I have. My
Yeah,
artist is leaving a lot of Easter eggs, things that I want you to find later on. And those Easter eggs will evolve because that's what Filipino martial arts is. You see, when we train in Filipino martial arts, we train with rattan sticks because sticks are the easiest thing in there. But this is a metaphor. Can you see a screwdriver in this? Can you see a curved blade in this? Can you see a belt in this? Can you see all these things? The answer is yes, because
yeah,
we have to be able to see things beyond normal perception. That is why in the beginning, people see a knife, two knives, a tomahawk, and a curved blade. Later on, these are the specific. Oh, what kind of weapon did he have? Oh, he had a dagger and a whip and all these other things. No, in the end, when you progress in this art and you truly understand what's going on, there are no weapons. There's only one weapon. I am the weapon. Everything else is a tool. What I
yeah,
look at in the tool are the attributes. If it's got a point, it can puncture. If it's got an edge, it can lacerate. If it's curved, it can hook. If it's flat, it's blunt force trauma. So all these different attributes, you can make it work. Now, when you develop that kind of skill to see everything and anything around you is something you can use as a tool, then you can look at life in the very same way and look at the metaphors that it's teaching you. And that is what true martial arts is. It's that you will learn to adapt, improvise, and overcome with anything that is presented to you. That's the key.
yeah. That's incredible. And that's, I think, something that, we look at modern weapons and that we've lost that magic out of it. And, you referred to Excalibur and things like that. Even in Europe, weapons used to have a history. They had a story. They were,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't just forged to be destructive. They were often gifts. They were, important. They were a status symbol. And yeah, it wasn't this mass-produced thing that we have with modern society, that there was a story
Mm-hmm.
behind all these blades.
Well, the blacksmiths and the bladesmiths of those days, they were the magic workers. I mean,
Mm.
they were the alchemists of those times to understand metallurgy and how it works so that, from the Iron Age to the age where they had metals, and today we have special alloys. But that is the magic. Science is in there, but so is, the story and the spirit behind those that are making it. Every culture has a different way of doing it. In Japan, it is the soul of the samurai in the code of Bushido and the way they revere the blades. In other cultures, when they make a blade, they have to make a twin because it has to have the male and female energy in the blades. Some blades are made to house spirits because spirits, especially some are good spirits, bad spirits, but they need a place to be housed on, and some of them are housed in weapons. So it's very interesting, in all of history. Why? Because weapons or the tool is made for life. We humans are born useless. We don't have claws, we don't have fangs, we don't have fur on us. When we're born, we just there. Other animals in nature, when they're born, they already know how to defend and live off on their own. We
Yeah,
don't. We need tools. And that's the beauty of it. As once man realized that we can use tools to better ourselves, it's the force multiplier, then they progressed. But then it's also the way we revere the use of the tool, the creation of the tool. And sometimes some tools are so indispensable, we actually feel so attached to it or useless without it.
yeah, and yeah. So that's that's a very thought, isn't it? And that's really it is why we forge these weapons and why we move forward. So how do you connect that history, that lineage, and that thing into your story?
Well, So in the beginning, is this recorded on video or is this a podcast?
It's recording on video, and then I'll
So
upload it
they'll
into.
see the images I'm going to present to you,
Oh,
right?
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, great. So this is the first page. And if you get to see the first page here, my artist called it Still Life, right? And I love that the way he said. But to me, I heard it's still alive. So in the beginning page, if you look at the comic book here, anything that's in red and black, that's the knife talking. And in the beginning, it says, "If only you could see through the edge of my existence. In the hands of a child, I danced through terror, yet felt the weight of the shadows where hearts stood still. In the quiet moments, I longed to be heard, sharp as a blade, but a keeper of tales untold. In the hands of the brave, truth in the shadows dwell. Comes a tale where every blade has a story to tell." So when you look at the first image right here, there's the blade. That's the narrator of the story. And a lot of people don't understand that, but they're there. And then you see the skull here. That skull has been used in the story of this. Then you'll see two shadowy figures in the back. Those are actually paintings of our ancestors of the artwork we have in the Philippines. That's an urn of ashes. Right here, you see a human skull, and you'll see the candle with flames. So in this still alive artwork, what I see here is that the blade pretty much is already gray, and the blade's telling you, before I die, before the last flicker of this candle, let me tell you my story and what I've been involved in. And then the blade talks about it, and he shows closer with his lineage, because if you look right there, there's stickmen. At first I thought it was like, are those crocodile? No, no. Do you see stickmen holding on to the hands, because that's what is on the blade, which means passing on your lineage. And then it turns green and goes back to the beginning of the story. So even the way we created, the way the artist did it, is very much like a movie. You know, you see the movie where somebody's about to die, but let me tell you my story before I die. Let me tell you what happened. That's where it starts. And then it goes into the tale of, it was once wielded by these two brothers who their father trained them, and the father was part of a cult. And as they were training, you see the older brother is very much into it, and the younger brother is flowing with it, but the older brother seems to have a temper. And even so much so that he almost hurts his younger brother because he's trying too much. But then out of nowhere, a demon manifests itself and kills their father. He wakes up. Now he's a grown man. He now has located into a different country. He migrated to the US, but he has all these nightmares over and over. And the only thing that he knows about his past is that he is in possession of the blade in that dream. And this blade was handed down to his father. Yet he knows that this blade has so much significance in the past that he doesn't want to think about it. He's afraid of that. But he has the blade now as nothing more as a trinket to open boxes, spread butter on food, whatever else. It's just a trinket. It's the meaning of the blade is lost. Now, the younger brother, they become estranged because the younger brother wants to know, why, how come you have the blade? I have no memories of our childhood. What's that all about? So the younger brother now is looking into the paranormal world, trying to connect himself to find the blade that his brother had through TikTok. He's got his own TikTok show, right? On the Verge. But he's constantly trying to find a connection to find this blade. So that's the story. But what happens here is one day the brother actually tunes into the show because everybody knows about this guy's show and that they're related. And then he catches his brother because he's found clues toward the cult that they were doing in the Philippines. And then what do they find? He sees that the brother is broadcasting it, and then he sees a mark, a logo that was part of his past. And he freaks out. He goes, my brother's in trouble. I better go rescue him. Rushes to his apartment. And sure enough, they see each other and they're just trying to catch up. Well, they were arguing about the whole thing. And lo and behold, a demon manifests itself. Now, this demon is got the demon face of a skull and horns that are very much what we call in the Philippines our water buffalo, very much a Filipino thing, right? So it's there, and he's caught unaware and shocked. And of course, his younger brother's like, "Ah, fight it! You know, what do you have an animal? Call animal control. What's this thing doing in there?" But the older brother goes, "You don't understand. That's a demon. That's in my dreams all the time." But then when the demon makes a move for his brother, older brother now needs to protect his younger brother, all of a sudden he feels his knife come alive. He grabs it and out of instinct stabs the demon. The demon bleeds. But wait a minute, if it bleeds, it can be killed. Then he looks at his brother and goes, remember when we were young, we used to do this training together on how to fight as a team that our father taught us. And the younger brother goes, you mean this? He goes, all of a sudden he remembers everything. And the brothers now work in tandem and they start fighting and they actually kill the demon. And as they walk up to the demon, they realize it's just a mask. They unmask the demon. And now all of a sudden, they have more questions than answers. The brother goes, it was never a demon, was it? Younger brother goes, cool. He's got a knife too with the same markings. What's that all about? We found something out. And that's issue 1. That tells you about the story of the brothers. And that is where the blade is telling you also, that's what I witnessed. That's what happened here. Now these brothers are going to go and find out. They're going back to their past. The older brother didn't want to go to the past, but he knows that it's going to answer some questions because he's got so much nightmares about it. The younger brother just wants to know, what in the world is this all about? And that's issue 1.
Yeah, that's incredible. You've got
But
giving
it's
me
like a
chills.
thriller
I'm
thing, right? A
excited.
who done it.
Yeah, it's yeah,
But here,
got me excited.
but here's a beautiful thing about comic book. If I were just to tell this story, you could use your imagination. But you see here, the action and the artwork are very specific to my culture. So all these things you will not see if you're not involved in the Filipino culture. You will not see the mask. You will not see all these little things. You will not see the ancestors written or the nightmares that he's having in his eyes. That's the beauty of comic books. But also, what I love about this is that we can also tell you that there are metaphors of life in here. That's what martial art teaches you. So what's the metaphor here? The older brother had to face his fear of the demon. He had to face it and go through the past to try to figure that out. So that's it. The younger brother realizes that it is through having a common goal that we can reconnect with each other again. Misery does love company. So that's one of
Yes.
the ideas there. Family is family. And it can be a source of strength somehow when you find someone and who has the same need as you. Now together we're stronger for it. But also the most important thing is sometimes the demons we create are not the ones that manifest in front of us. It's the demons that we create in our minds. That's the way it is. So you have to go back and face it. Be strong enough to face it in your stuff. I've had to go through a lot of my demons in my life in the Philippines. So that was one of my healing things. I'm a knife I trained in martial arts in a weapons art. I design knives now for world fame. I have K-bar, fox knives, military knives, tactical knives. Because once I fell in love with this art, I truly delved in it. But here's the thing: I had a fear of knives. Growing up in the Philippines, I hated knives. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I was an adult and moved to the US that I faced my fear because I wanted to learn this art. And this art had knives in it. But my friend says, let me guide you through this. Let me show you. We're friends. We're martial arts. Nobody's going to kill each other here. You see, this is not dangerous. This that accosted me, that gave me so much fear for the knives, it wasn't the knife that was bad. It was a situation that I put myself in as being part of a gang. It was a situation of the people that was on the other side that wanted to hurt me that was bad, not the knife. So
Yeah.
that's basically how there's so much of my story in this. At the same time, it's a human story.
Yeah. And so is the blade you actually use in that, is that the traditional Filipino knife?
It's a Southeast Asian knife the Filipinos have adapted. It's called a karambit, which is a curved blade held this way. And
Yeah.
why it's so menacing looking is because it's primal.
Yeah.
So this is the real karambit, the real one that's telling the story. It's got the markings because I am known to be a karambit because I've got this fidget issue. So I like to fidget with the blade. But I wanted to create it based on this because if we're going to go now into the world of what lineage is about, then let me explain this. I wrote this story for my great great grandkids that I will never meet. And I want them to look back and say, do you know that awesome saga called Lineage? Doug Marcaida, that's my great, great, great grandfather. But when I decided to also have the story be told by a specific blade, then I can also hand this down to my descendants and they have an heirloom. Because not only is it a blade, it's a blade that comes with a story, or it's a comic book that comes with a blade, which is which. But I'm a knife designer.
Yeah.
In issue 2 to 4, I'm introducing my other creations. This is a Filipino tomahawk or a headhunter's axe. It's a tomahawk version. I'm introducing my battle spear or my battle bolt blade, right? So this blade right here, I designed also for use because I'm a knife designer. So
Yeah.
these guys are going to be in the comic book. It's like making a cameo because every blade has a story to tell. A piece of me goes into this. Now, here's the beauty of it. Why am I making this crowdfunding? Why am I going with a Kickstarter? Well, I'm in the last quarter of my life. Now, my purpose is to leave everything that ever made me shine. I'm doing seminars with everything that I do. I'm making all my designs available out there. It's time to leave it behind. I can't take this with me. But since I designed this as something to hand me down, everyone who is part of Kickstarter will forever, this is the first issue, right? Because we're now creating issues 2 to 4, will forever have their names printed on every issue of issue 1. So now you and anyone else who wants to be part of Kickstarter has something to pass down to their descendants. What are you going to do with this when you die? I want somebody to say, hey, do you know that great, great, great grandfather of mine actually is part of making this a reality today? Let's think about it. Did George Lucas ever do this for his Star Wars fans? Did the Game of Thrones creator do it for his fans? No, but I'm going to do that. I want everyone to have a reason to hand something down that they may have never thought they're part of. All of a sudden, this whole saga that I'm creating is part of yours. Now, remember, this is only issue 1. In this book, when the blade dies, the soul will be reincarnated in another blade, in another time, in another era, in another country. So the stories will continue. Eventually, I won't be able to write anymore. I'm hoping that this community we create, these people who help create it that are listed here, will take over and continue Lineage. It's not for me, it's for us. I want to be able to leave something behind and make everyone that I'm in this world with right now part of it.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That's incredible. That's a how'd you come up with that concept that, you know, well, and you say you're in your
It came
last
from the
quarter of your life. You
heavens.
look amazing, by the way.
Uh-huh.
You look,
It's something that when you start to think about what your last purpose is on your last quarter of your life and how to leave it behind, you become creative. You become creative. But at the same time, I'm always asking my creator, I was in the medical field when I got out. I was in the military and I learned my medical craft and I got in there. And I had such an energy that I loved about it. But then I would never give up on my martial arts. I kept on doing it. But then I had students who were instructors in the military, instructors in law enforcement, and they said, hey, can you create a program for us for combatives? I did. But my passion was martial arts. And I started teaching it all over the world. I even got to visit Australia and do a seminar there. So because of that, it made me shine. So much so that I was in demand for it. And I was offered a very big contract to leave my hospital job. And I did. But in the middle of that, television came up and says, hey, would you love to do what you're doing and get paid for it? I'm like, of course. But when I was doing Fortune Fire, I realized that something in me I'm supposed like, I made it up here. I'm doing what I love, but why am I missing something? Why am I miserable? Because my family, well, they're 5 hours away. I can drive to them. Something was missing. I didn't realize it was the exchange of energy that I do as a healer. I was a respiratory therapist. Everything is about breathing. That energy was missing. So one thing my brother told me, what are you going to do when God asks you, what have you done with the gifts you've done with your life that he gave you? I go, are you going to do a martial art demo? You're going to do a sharpness test and all that in front of him? No, he's going to ask you that. So what is it? Because you had this in the hospital. All of a sudden you don't have that anymore. So what are you now? Well, I am in the media. and I do have a following. So what I do is I started creating this morning coffee with Marcaida on Facebook. And we're now on our what, 12th year, and doing it has been such a, because I it's an uplifting talk. I get in there, we talk about positive things, we talk about things. And in the beginning, it was hard to do because it was supposed to be just me talking to my sons on Facebook while I was away. This is what dad's doing today. Well, it turns out kids don't join Facebook, they're not in there. But then I created a community, and so many people have gone, and I didn't realize I had people who were in hospice, on dialysis, on chemotherapy that were in there. I had people who actually have passed away since. I had people who were in suicidal ideations and actually found something from my talks. And that's where the spiritual comes in, because I'll talk about simple things that I know, things that I need to improve upon myself. God will do the rest. And he does,
Yeah,
because people will say, "Oh, I needed this for today. That's all." And I'm like, I don't know what I said. I was just talking about this experience of mine, but people will take it differently. People
yeah,
will see you, hear what you're saying, and it will mean something to them. And I stopped trying to figure that out, because there was a time I was going to quit doing this. I'm like, I'm not made up for this. I'm no Dr. Phil. And they go, "We're not fans of Dr. Phil. We're fans of you." Somehow,
yeah.
some way, when you reflect on something, someone out there will say, "I get it."
It's amazing, yeah, how you don't always realize your impact that you have, and as people, it's why we should always be leaning with kindness. We should always be, because you don't know who needs what in that moment. It might be small to you, but it might make the world to someone else. And I can think of a dozen little incidents like that in my life, which I knew how to hear. That someone just did something that, and they wouldn't have thought twice about it, but yeah, it
Hmm.
certainly
And we're
keeps
so,
you.
a lot of times we focus only on ourselves, and we only see things from our point of view, and we never look at and take into consideration what other people are feeling. We don't put ourselves in that situation. Now, Filipino martial arts, what does it say? Okay, look at it from this point of view. That's my point of view. But from their point of view, they're looking from the side. That's what it looks like. But from other point of view, it's this way and this way. So automatically, I will grab there, and I always will look at it from everyone's point of view, 360, not just mine. Mine would have been this, and I'm limited to that. But because I'm taught to look at it from everybody else's point of view, I see different things. That's the martial art way. That's what's taught me to say, don't be too quick to judge what's going on in here. You only know what you saw. But if you were on their shoes, would you have done the very same thing?
Yeah, that's incredible. So how did when you started with that martial arts journey and the Philippine martial arts journey, is it really centered around that spirituality and that connection?
No, as a matter of fact, so when I first started it, it was all physical. It was all about, I took it because I wanted to be violent. I have issues. I have
Yeah,
temper issues. And I wanted to be able to be, shall we say, have the advantage, because I knew how to use blades now. I was afraid of them. I was felt that everybody was armed. I mean, it was the equalizer. And I fell into the first group, which had pretty much cult-like mentality. That's why this lineage, Brotherhood of the Blade, is about the cult mentality. Because I was involved in, think of it this way. Our training, my training sessions were 6 hours long, 6 hours of training every Saturday from 6 till midnight. We trained in the dark. We had set mantras of the way we were training, whispering, thinking, seeing in the dark. We'd go through different ways of training, such in our rituals of saying, and we had incantations that were training. That's a cult mentality. Our teacher, our grandmaster, would say a lot of things, and we know some of the things that he did were wrong, but we would say, "No, that's him. He's so naughty." We drank the Kool-Aid. And that was
yeah,
an actual term. Did we drink the Kool-Aid? So there's a cultish mentality in there. I was lucky, and he was always very much teaching us about destruction, killing, and all this. Has he ever killed anyone? No. You see, empty drum make a lot of noise.
yeah,
That's when I found out, because the true people I've met, because of course now I'm addicted to this violence, I had to study under true killers. And they were not martial artists. They were gangsters. They were nothing more than just people who just did it and had no feeling about it. I had to study that to understand it. But I'm being drawn to the dark side. It was lucky for me to find teachers in the same art who pulled me from that and go, "What's wrong with you? You're putting this guy on a pedestal. Look at him. Study the man, you'll understand the art." But well, okay, let's study the man. Oh, from a young age he was beaten. Oh, okay, that's child abuse. What's that going to do to you in your older age? Oh, wait a minute, he's a con man because his stories are all about how he conned people. Oh, this fighting method is a con. It's misdirection. It's all these things, but it's a great strategy. But the words that he says, he told me, "Doug, we are the manipulators of their mind. You always misdirect them, never look in their eyes because that's misleading." It was like, that's all a con. So I studied and understood that, but I praised him. "Oh, you're so great. You're so good." And he would try to pick fights with everyone and make us fight for him. Does somebody who cares for your soul do that? No. So until I found teachers who goes, that's not the way it is. Martial arts should make you better in life, not bitter in life. I was getting very bitter. I was drawn. So I had to leave that, and then I was free. I had to cleanse myself. And then I started finding people who did martial arts for the good of it all, not fighters. You see, when you go, "Well, he's a great one. He's fought. Look at that guy. He's out of shape. He's never thrown a fight in his life yet. He's a better leader in society. He's a good father. He's a good role model and everything, but never fought. Probably can throw a punch, but he's a great teacher."
Yeah.
We honor the fighters and everything else. Why are they always getting into fights? Don't they have problems? He can't even hold them a job. How many divorces has been through? We don't see those. We only
Yeah.
see what we want to see and make that the best thing because we're blinded because we drank the Kool-Aid. But when you see the truth, you see the good, the productive stuff, the martial art makes you better in life. Then you truly become enlightened.
That's that's brilliant. So how do you capture that essence into comics books? Is that the lesson
It's
we learned
automatic.
from? Yeah.
It's automatic because you see a lot of people think that I separate martial arts and life. This is how I train and everything. No, I train all the time. How many times do you set aside time to train? No, this is training. My
Mm.
communication with you is training. The way I move is training. Every time I do this with a pen, so when I'm talking to you this way, I'm also manipulating stuff in there. As I'm manipulating the pen, as I would do the exact same motion with a tomahawk. It's all the time. The way I communicate with you, the way I try to de-escalate, escalate all the talks. I can maneuver our conversation in certain directions. Just like if a fight broke out, where's my exits? Where's my entrances? What are the possible things that I have here? Critical thinking all the time is critical talking. So I live and breathe this stuff. If I can see the metaphor of everything that I see in here, why can't I and explain to you, do you see this point right here? Do you see all this and everything else? I can do that in my storytelling. It's the same exact thing. There's nothing different about it. And people go, but there's something about it I like, but I'm not a martial artist, but I can relate. Why? Because you can hear the passion in my talk. Everybody understands the same thing.
Yeah. So back to your Kickstarter. So how do we get involved with your Kickstarter?
Well, just go to Kickstarter.com and search Lineage, and you'll find us there. We're like three people away to get the first 50 will get a very special cover that's see-through foil with a special splash. But we're also putting a lot of extras. For example, this is how if we can put meaning into the comic book, how do I do that aside from the art? You see, when I did Kickstarter, I will never ask for something from my followers and never give to them. So you'll have the ability to have one of these. That was the main thing, right? You will have the actual character that's there. You'll have the training version of it. Later on, these are real tomahawks you throw and train. I'm teaching that. But we also have the cosplay trainer version of that. This is one of my designs that we're going to create if we are able to go to the next level. But I'm going to actually have them put comic art right down there. So why? Because all these weapons are making cameos on my volume 1. So if you are part of it, you get like, well, we have even pendants, you know, because this is when it's alive, and when it's dormant, black, right? But these are things you wear. Why? Because it makes it exciting. It gives it some kind of because When you have all of this, you have something to hand down to your descendants.
Yeah.
So that's what the Kickstarter is about. The more people come in, the more they donate, but forever will be part of it because we'll always be in there. The more this becomes alive. You see, in the end, this is not my lineage. It's our lineage. We are only here for such time, and there's not many of us. So let's create this and hand this down to the next generation. Let it grow exponentially as we're passing it over. And that's at least the movement and the thought that I've had in this concept of what lineage is supposed to be.
Yeah. That's Was that an easy sell to, to your agents or the comic book producers? Was it?
I don't care. This is my turn. Basically, I don't care. I could have done this on my own. I don't need them. But I go, but if I do that, I can just pay for the whole thing with the comic book and make it happen and see where we go. No, then where is the thing where I'm making it as giving back? Where
Yeah.
is the opportunity that I don't know? We don't know each other, but it goes, Aaron, join in. All of a sudden, you are part of my lineage, our lineage. Who gives that opportunity to be people, to everybody to be part of something great? If and I always refer this to the greats that are out there in the saga and the Star Wars. So because of cosplay, right? When I saw comic book world and all that, I mean,
Yeah.
did they give that a chance for their fans to be part of it? Yet look at where it is. But imagine in its inception, I know this is a good story because for 15 years I've already talked to almost everyone that heard it, loves it. Have you ever thought of a blade telling a story? A blade can be it's just a witness. You know how many blades there were created for destruction or just collecting dust and never saw a fight? What stories did it see? How about the blades hanging on the wall? What stories did it see? Now, we're going to different eras. It could be a Viking axe tomorrow, a katana tomorrow, a kukri, who knows? And every culture has its own ways of looking at things and telling a story. How can you beat that? But now it allows, by doing this, I'm saying, come with me in our journey. And there will be people who will love this so much and go, Doug, how about this story? Take it away. Are you part of our group? Are you part of the lineage? I'm not going to be here forever. So somebody pick up the realm when I'm gone. Hey guys, we're in book 20. Who wants to do 21? Well, why are we going to do 21? Because Doug's gone. Who's next? And along the way, I will meet people with better ideas. Continue on.
Yeah. That's that's incredible, and hopefully not for a good long time. Yeah.
Well, tomorrow is promised to no one, and that is why I'm doing this now.
Yeah. And so where do the next couple of books? So you said you're working on 2, 3, and 4. Where do they take you? So you go back to the Philippines?
No, that it
No?
will be done. So the first book, Brotherhood of the Blade, is all about the blade, this particular blade, the Marcado, meaning the marked one, and it tells its story. When the four issues are done, the blade dies and its soul will move on to another blade in a different era, a different country. What country that is, I don't want to surprise. I don't want to break the surprise here, but I already have plans because it will be. Fortune Fire has exposed me to different worlds, rather different nations and different cultures. So the next one will not be Philippines. It'll be of a different country, a different origin. I'll be talking to those people there too. I'll be researching with them. And I already have one picked already because my exposure there. And the signs were all over. You see,
Yeah.
but it'll be a different story too. It has to be a different story. It can't be the same.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I love that you said that the signs were there because when the universe or whatever is screaming at you, you got to listen, don't you? You got to
Oh,
follow that
absolutely.
passion.
In today's world, we are, and that's the thing I love about when you're blading and you take your focus, right? We have dulled our senses in this world because of technology. We have dulled. That's why in the Philippines, when I went over there, goes, I don't understand any. I've seen weird things. I just don't want to question it anymore. But I go, why would you believe you are intelligent, learned men, and you believe in this black magic and everything else? They go, Doug, we believe in it because it does things. The reason they go, yeah, but I don't. None of that works on me and stuff like that. No, you think it doesn't, but it does manifest its way. And their psychology is you have dulled your sixth sense so much. Just the same thing the way I look at it this way. as being spiritual. God talks to us every day. We just don't listen. We are not listening to him. I've tuned him out. I'm so focused on everything else that if I'm out there in meditation, pray, just by that, then I hear him. Then I've learned to start to look for signs. What's a sign mean? A sign's supposed to tell you something. But no, I'm too busy with this. I'm too busy with this. But phone, I'm like, it's everywhere. And then when you actually stop, and signs are so subtle, like a bird would be, what's that telling me? Because a friend of mine, actually, we got together, we started playing that game. He goes, today I saw this. I'm doing a big shindig in October in Cooperstown, New York. And when I was driving there to teach my guys, what did I see? I saw the word Mohawk. Cool. Tomahawk. Cool. I saw the hawks and everything else. So I told him, hey, I saw this and everything else. And when I saw the land, I go, we're going to do something here and bring out the American frontier. Remember the last of Mohicans? That would be so awesome to be able to do that. Well, the guy Hawkeye, yeah, he was buried 2 towns away. Are you kidding me? So you start to see all these different things. If you start to look for signs, sometimes we don't.
No, then they can, yeah, sometimes we can be a little bit distracted and very much technology destroys us. But I think that you're right. They're always there. Again, it's not a conversation for here, but big life changes because I finally looked at all the
Mm-hmm.
little coincidences in my life, and I was just like, I know now, and it's
I
something
believe
that's
we're all
time.
connected. We're
Yeah,
very much connected. We just don't believe that that's a possibility. A good friend of mine always told me there's no such thing as coincidences, Doug. There's none. There's a
yeah.
reason we're meeting. There's a reason we're talking. And sometimes we are nothing more than vessels for others and say, hey, I'll just walk up to you and I go punch you in the face and disappear. What was that all about? Well, when you got punched in the face, you actually saw something on the other side and go, oh, look at that. But if I never punch you, it wouldn't look that way. So it's a weird way of doing that. I've got a weird sense of humor. But I needed to be the necessary evil to do that, to accomplish. And somehow, some way, in a world, we actually agreed at this time and point in our lives, I need to look to my left instead of my right. Okay, I'll come over and punch you so you look that way. Then I'll disappear.
Actually, very much believe the same thing. I just wouldn't put the punch metaphor in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So when is the Brotherhood of the Blade hoping to be out? When are you hoping to see that?
Our second issue should be done end of this month, end of
Yeah, wow,
March. Yeah,
wow.
and boy, has it taken off. So the first issue simply talks about, what's it all about? What's this all about? That the Blade's telling a story, and then now we find out that the brothers realize, oh, there's more to this. So issue 2 begins with the brothers going back to the Philippines, going back
Yeah,
to their past, going back to why did we leave the Philippines to begin with? And when they get back there, they meet their uncle, who's the one who rescued and sent them to the US, who's not very happy at all with them coming back. There's a reason I kicked you out of this country because your father was part of a cult, and you saw him murdered by the demon. And the younger brother, well, was there really a demon? Because look at this. Where'd you get that? It was in the States. Why do you have that mask? Oh gosh. So I was hoping I would never ever have this conversation with you boys, but now, anyway, and then they find out that their uncle knew about this because he was part of the cult. And they go back to their martial art training. He goes, well, do you remember your training that you used to do with your dad? A little bit. And he throws him a pair of sticks. Well, you'll need it if you're going to find out. And they start training because he's also a practitioner. So we bring in the Filipino martial arts into this. My artist, when he did this, is a man of our Filipino culture. He's amazing, amazing with the land, but he's not a practitioner. So I told him in my comic book, I don't want to see a Superman punch, a Hulk smash, or Spider-Man pose. I want to see Filipino martial art moves. So I and my brother trained and we recorded ourselves training with all the techniques, with the knife work and everything else. And we sent it to him and he watched it over and over and over. So much so that when he puts it in the comic art, he actually sees, and if you're a practitioner, the Filipino martial art moves.
mm,
So but in this issue 2, that's when they get reintroduced into the cult. Ooh. But here's the beautiful thing. The comic book, so I came into the comic book with my story, but when I went to San Diego Comic Con, the comic book world influenced me because this animal skull was never part of my story. The artist put it there. And that's when I was influenced. And I go, ooh, what if we make the cult part of the story, the animal look part of the story? Because when I saw cosplay, the passion of people, what they wear for 8 hours all day. And they're different when they put the mask. When they put it on, it changes them. I know that, right? Our skin is a mask. But I wanted to get back into my experiences with my first couple of group of martial arts where it was cult like rather culture, and the act of wearing a mask, and make that part of my story. So the cult of cosplay is actually part of this because of the influence of the comic books.
Yeah. And for those who haven't um, delved into that world, it's actually a really beautiful space. The enthusiasm, the thing, and you're right. Some people are total introverts, but then they dress up and they are someone else, and it's
It
it's a really
changes.
welcoming space.
A welcoming space, but not all that wear masks are also in there for the good of it all. Some are there for the vices. Some are
Yeah,
Furby. Some are sexual. Some are sadomasochism. Some are in it to hide their inner demons. Some are in it because it changes the way people view them, that they can be something that they're not, or they're something that their subconscious will not allow them to be. So the cult of cosplay is very powerful. And there's a whole story to this too that's part of that cult. It's not
yeah,
all about wearing it for violence. Some will use it to try to make you believe or brainwash you to thinking that they are demons and gods. So it's a very interesting thing, this cult of cosplay or cult of costume wearing.
yeah. That's I'll talk to my friends about that and see what they think. I
Yes,
have some friends
yes.
that are
My
massively into it.
well,
Yeah,
I do. Well, I want people to actually go into this and go like this. Well, yeah, that's me. Or,
yeah,
oh, I get it. I get the power of that, or I understand that,
yeah,
because in many ways we all wear masks. How many hats when I put on my uniform or for a particular thing, I act a different way. If I'm a medical guy and I put on a medical suit and everything, my stethoscope and everything, I'm a healer. When I'm a martial artist, when I put my weapons on, I'm here for combat. So what you wear is what you become. It's very powerful.
yeah,
So that's what I say. Don't hide behind the badge. Oh, why do I hide behind badge? When I take it off, I'm somebody else. It's powerful.
yeah. That's and that's incredible, isn't it? And that's perception, and that's why we're storytellers to look into these, you know, beyond the mundane, beyond the distraction and what we see. That's the stories behind things, and connecting and telling those stories is it's why they're so important. And it doesn't matter if it's comic books, TV, poetry, whatever, art.
Hmm.
It's as long as you're sharing that stories and exposing people to ideas. That's why we're here.
Yeah, to be able to. And what I love about storytelling is also I invite you to witness my story. So what's in my head, just like I will witness yours, so that whatever we've done in this life is not for nothing.
Yeah,
That's why I love sharing it. I was always part of a brotherhood, whether it was a gang or my family or when I was in the military or when I was doing sports and everything else. Whatever I've done didn't really exist unless I saw somebody say, "Good job," or "You can do better." Or "Oh, okay, so you're acknowledging that whatever I'm doing has an effect." So I
yeah.
love that, and then the same thing I will do for them.
So how's the best way? Again, we've talked about where we find your Kickstarter. How does the best way to find your comic books?
Yeah, on Kickstarter, and then you just put Lineage, you'll find it there. But also, if you just go to kidheroes.es, just Kid Heroes, or just search Lineage on the internet, you'll find us. Um, and also, because of the Kickstarter, there are different levels that you can level up or add-ons. Because some people go, well, you're doing issues 2 to 4. What about issue 1? Issue 1 is still available to
Yeah,
get you caught up. We're trying to get issues 1 through 4 on a whole paperback. And like I'm telling, so I've been doing my martial arts for, like I told you, a long time. And one of the things I do in my seminars, I go, okay, good. If you can do what I've done in the same manner as, or just as well, or if you don't like what I'm doing, you'll get your money back. I'm that confident. Now,
Yeah.
I told Kickstarter, and I'm telling people, hey, look, read my story and enjoy the story. And if you saw the whole story as a whole, if you don't like it, get your money back. And Kid Hero goes, no, that's not a good business model. We're not doing that. But I've done this. I am that confident. I'm a storyteller. I've This story has been told and retold among ourselves, and we've created it to where what if we go here? What if we go here? Plus, I am part of a group of guys. I have two writers part of this, where they fill the holes. Because here's my story outline. But how convenient that you need this and it's here. And how convenient is that? That's not the way life works. So they have been able to weave it to where it makes sense. I need a story, a good story, because action and everything without a story is useless to me. It's just pictures. It's just, it's got it. The stories always matter to me as a storyteller. I want to be wowed by the story. Wow, I like that. I like that. Too fake. I don't know if that will even. Nah, that's ridiculous. That ain't gonna happen that way. I've had 15 years of that. So that's why I know it's going to be a good story. That's why I'm telling people. I'm telling you right now, I'll guarantee you, you don't want to miss out on this. You don't want to miss out on this. I'm giving you an opportunity that you have something to pass down to your descendants. I'm telling you that. Who else has been able to do that? And it's not that big of an ask because regardless of what you do, you'll still get a comic book. You'll get your name on the comic book. You'll get to know that all the comic books have actual characters that you can own. And I'm teaching seminars and videos on how to learn and wield it. Want to learn an art form? It's coming with it that people actually use in the real world. I've got special forces looking at this right now and testing them out there. I've got seminars wherever that's out. So it's not just a made up thing, but you get to be part of it, leaving something behind so that you can leave something behind.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's and yeah, like you said, not a lot of opportunities nowadays to actually be part of something and yeah, something cool and that you can pass down and
Yeah.
yeah,
Too many
very incredible.
me. For me, for me, for me, for me. Well,
Yeah,
he can't take it for you. How much more do you really need? I'm very blessed to say that I've been able to accomplish a lot of things. So what else is there? Then leave it behind. Let somebody take the mantle. Enough trying to always be on top. Create a pedestal so that somebody else can jump up there.
yeah,
Part of this whole thing that I've learned is that when you start here, and we're talking about the triangle, right? Think of a triangle. When you start here with your brothers and sisters for your brotherhood, the minute you start rising, and you've only thought of yourself, you'll end up at the tip and you form a triangle. That top right there, that tip right there is you alone. In the Philippines, we have something called crab mentality. You put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, they'll climb over each other to try to get over one each other. That's what happens here. Now, if you create this whole thing and you always help each other, just like Lineage, you saw the stickman holding hands.
yeah,
Everybody, we hold hands and we rise together. You get a square. And when you're at the top, you're with everybody else. You're not alone. So they say it's lonely at the top. Depends on how you got to the top. And by sharing and saying, how can I take you with me? How can I make you part of me? This is my square. It's
yeah.
not a triangle.
So, well, on that note, I think anybody that wants to jump up on this square with Doug, uh,
Yeah,
links will be in the bio. Jump on board, join the Kickstarter, and spread his lineage. Created as part of your lineage, which is yeah, it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? I think we all get to that point in time. What's our impact going to be? And some of us don't think we're going to have any at all, but there's always going to be something small you can do, and yeah, to pass down, and even if it's just smiling to people on the street, it's something you
yeah.
should
It's
always lean to.
infectious, right?
But but this one's a little bit more. You can actually name in the comic book and you know rec recorded there you are.
We'll have a community, our own community
Yeah,
of lineage that other people can come up with ideas or what countries, what weapons should be featured next, where should it go. I'd love to tell stories of a love triangle and a knife just being a witness to that. Not every blade has to see combat. It just needs to tell a story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. All stories, you know, wherever they come from, and like we were talking about earlier, the blades used to have a story, used to have a history, but now that
Hmm.
we're in this mass-produced society, it's we've sort of lost that. But thank you, Doug, for sharing this incredible tale about Lineage
Thank
and
you
just
for having me.
your history.
Well, I'm curious to see be honest. What are your thoughts on the story I just shared with you? You're an author, you're a writer.
Yeah, and it's definitely got me intrigued. It's certainly got me intrigued. I love the thought of you know, the the demons, but is it a demon? It's coming back. You know, that family heritage. What I want to know what they've run from. I can tell you that. I want to know what they've run from. I'm very keen to learn that. And yeah, and then where do they go with it? That's
Mm,
um, yeah. You've got me on my little radar going nuts. I want to know. I want to know what's happening.
good. I'd like to hear that. That's what I like to hear. Is if I've intrigued you and got at least you're like, huh, okay, well, what's going on here? I've done my job, at least for the
Yeah,
first issue. But then I got to make sure that at the end, when you start to see, what I love are these, oh, you know. But
yeah,
it's also, and I told you, one of the things I love about my artist is that it's you can always revisit lineage. You have to look back in your past to find out where you come from, right?
yeah,
Even in the artwork here. So it's a story about two brothers. Let me share this little Easter egg here that my artist did. So he goes back in the past and tells the beginning. Then you see the brothers right here, right? They're now doing their bows and they're training. And then in their training with their father, they actually start fighting. And you can see the younger brother in yellow, he's able to move everywhere. The one in red, he's got a temper and he's always trying too hard. Now, when you look at this, the little Easter egg right here, in just the beginning part when they're doing their bows of respect, he has a band-aid on his thumb. That's because he's not as good as his younger brother who can evade. So it's already telling you who's better among the two.
yeah,
I didn't even catch on to that till I sat down with my artist and go, I want you to tell me about what was in your mindset for everything. Because he's a storyteller too. He wrote this. But he wrote it according to what we sent to him. I go, no, 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 no. I know there's a piece of you here. Tell me everything about it. Now, this is our comic book, my story, right? I asked all the people involved in creating this. I go, for issues 2 to 4, I want every one of you to give our artist a piece about who you are. And somehow, some way, he's going to put something in there about you without telling us. We'll have to find it.
yeah,
So it's like a Where's Waldo for everyone. And that's the beauty of this, right? There's more to just this being just a comic book art. There's always
yeah.
a piece of us in there because it's our lineage.
That's that's incredible. I suppose you have a lot of little moments there that you didn't see
Oh, God.
coming.
We're actually going to be doing comic book readings so that we can share this with each other because it's hilarious. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And every time you go back to read it again, I go, I know the story behind this. I know the story. So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to create that community where we all go in there. And then, just like Filipino martial arts, I want you to take what's here and tell me how this is connected to your life. You will take something in here and saying, that reminds me of a time when I was young and this happened and everything else. Now you're in my comic book. It is your story. There's no right or wrong. It is your story. To you, it's that meaningful. And to you, it will spark an idea in your mind that is related to this. So that when you hand it down to your descendant, they go, here's a story my grandfather told me. There was a time when now all of a sudden it's none of us exist anymore. Your lineage, his story that he told you and put himself in here, that's for you guys. I have nothing to do with that. See how it becomes alive?
Yeah,
That's the reason I'm doing this.
that's that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's
Well,
um
it comes from my morning coffee. Remember, I told you that I will just say things and you will take it and make it mean to you. the
Yeah.
way you want it to mean to you, that's in here. You will take the images here and make it mean to you the way you want it to mean to you.
And that's the beauty of storytelling, because as writers, we all have this idea in our heads, but once someone else reads it, once someone else hears a song, we all hear it with different ears. We all hear it with different experience. We all read the words and see the art, and that's the beautiful thing about art is, everyone gets to take it and run with it as their own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but, thanks again, Doug,
Well,
for joining us.
thank
And
you for allowing me to do this. And once again, I've actually come up with some ideas
yeah,
that I did not realize in the beginning. And now it's meaningful to me from a different point of view. I saw something when I was talking that I was explaining to him, like, where'd that come from? Now it's that now I like that. I go, I gotta share that. Now this comic book that I've been talking about keeps teaching me lessons that I never knew in the beginning.
yeah.
And it's a frame of mind. And if I don't write this down, I don't want to be lost because I want others to start thinking, oh, good, I'm going to start doing that too.
And that's another reason why we write and create is to understand the world, to understand ourselves, and then hopefully share that with others. So I'm glad that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's an interesting. That's so cool that that happened to you while we were talking. That's
Yes.
a,
Yep.
that's a
Yep.
brilliant little moment. And then, thank you very much again. Yeah, it's been an
My
absolute
pleasure.
brilliant pleasure to talk to you. There'll be links in the comment and in the bio of this video, so everyone check it out.
Hmm.
Definitely join the Kickstarter and become part of Doug's lineage. I think that's, you know,
Well, I'm hoping that you jump in, Aaron, and we'll come back and talk about the comic book. Because
oh,
you, as an
absolutely.
author, I'm curious to see how you feel. You're a writer. I have ADHD. I can't read. My mind travels, runs so fast. I have a very hard time sitting and reading a book. I wish I was never read to as a kid, so I never had that discipline of wanting to read. And when I read, it was so difficult for me to stay in here. So I do books, and I learned a lot of things a different way. It's got to be comic book. I can't because it's quick reading, right? But as an author and one who can think like a writer, I don't have that ability. I can only write short stories. But I'd love to come back and discuss the things we talked about once you read my story. Then I want to
Absolutely.
see what's in your mind and we'll reconnect.
Absolutely. I would love to have you back on and talk about this
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah. Where have
yeah,
we been and where
yeah,
are we now?
absolutely. All right. Thanks again, Doug. Thank you
Thank
everybody
you.
for tuning in. Happy reading. Subscribe and follow for more.